Brian Houston, founder of Hillsong Church, breaks his silence after the firing of Carl Lentz, and he admits to allowing celebrity culture. So let's talk about it. If you have not checked out my previous video on the firing of Carl Lentz and his cheating scandal, please check out that video. It's on the screen right now. Hillsong Global Senior Pastor Brian Houston gave his first public interview following the firing of former pastor Carl Lentz of Hillsong in New York City for moral failings and leadership issues that mired the church amid other scandals. The minister sat down with NBC's Today Show to briefly discuss the controversies surrounding Lentz, and the network also noted changes at two other Hillsong churches: the resignation of Darnell Barrett, which I talked about as well, so if you have not checked out that video, please do so. Creative director of Hillsong Church Montclair in New Jersey, and the resignation of Reed and Jess Bogard from Hillsong Dallas, which has since closed. During the interview, NBC co-host Savannah Guthrie asked Houston why he didn't intervene with Lentz sooner, before announcing in a statement last year that he was fired for moral failures and breaches of trust. I think there's a lot of things I should have known earlier, and hopefully moving forward, we'll make sure we have far better systems in place and better accountability, he added. Now this is what I want to talk about, not just with these celebrity pastors and these mega churches, but for everyone in general. If you don't have accountability in place, if you don't have men and women that you can talk to tell them about your secrets, then you're going to give in to your flesh. Carl was Carl. He's a unique character. There's a lot of things I miss about Carl, but having said that, there were leadership issues that I believe included lying, included what I would call narcissistic behavior, Houston said. Lying and cheating and being all about yourself and pleasing your flesh and wanting these things temporarily to cover up everything that's in your life that's going bad is what Lentz dealt with. It's what I dealt with. Although I've never been a pastor or a preacher, if you're in the spotlight, if you are a leader in whatever field that you're in, and you have these character flaws and these integrity issues, and pride is getting in the way, it will easily rob you of your influence. It will rob you of your calling, and you will end up in the place that Carl Lentz is at and Darnell Barrett if you don't check yourself. I think there's a lot of things I should have known earlier, and hopefully moving forward, we'll make sure we have far better systems in place and better accountability, he added. Lentz, who led all Hillsong campuses across the East Coast, was often pegged as a celebrity pastor by the mainstream media. His friends and congregants included A-list stars such as Justin and Hailey Bieber, Kevin Durant, Selena Gomez, Kylie Jenner, and others. When addressing Lentz's celebrity culture, Houston admitted that Hillsong did allow a different standard for their A-list parishioners, including Justin Bieber. I do think we did allow a culture to develop where it was one rule for celebrities and a different rule for other people, Houston told Guthrie. This is my issue, not just with Mr. Houston, but with every church, with every congregation, big or small, that has double standards. You cannot put members on a pedestal based on who they are and how much money they have and how much they sow into the congregation. God sees us the same. He created us in His image, and it does us as Christians, as pastors, as leaders, right? It does us no good to put others on a pedestal. God is no respect of man, meaning that we are all the same. We were created in His image, and we have to uphold what God has called us to do, to love people unconditionally, to see people as the same, So this irks me so much. This frustrates me so much because Mr. Houston and Hillsong is being exposed right now. There's millions and millions of other churches who are doing the same thing. Houston also pushed back on claims that he was more lenient with Lentz because he drew in celebrity congregants in large membership numbers. I find it annoying that people thought that it was important to me and my wife, Bobby, to attract famous people to church, he asserted. Guthrie then said some had suggested that Lentz was a lot like Houston. On one level, if people say Carl was like me, I see it as a compliment because he's an incredibly gifted guy. But on another level, I think Carl really is anything like me. He continued, I am ultimately responsible. I am ultimately accountable. Houston said this season has been difficult for them as a church. Houston said all are welcome in his ministry, but the church's position will remain biblically based. Houston concluded the interview by admitting that the recent controversies kept him awake at night. But Savannah, I look you in the eye and tell you, I genuinely believe in my heart Hillsong is a good church, he added. I commend Mr. Houston for stepping forward and giving this interview and talking about Carl Lentz. We all have skeletons in our closet. No man is perfect. Please check out the video on the screen right now, which goes into further detail on the firing and the scandal of Carl Lentz. Thank you again for hanging out with me in this video. I can't wait to hang out with you in the next.